Cavin Elizabeth, a wedding photographer and bride boutique owner here. Today I'm going to be showing you guys tons of different wedding invitations to get you inspired for your own. So I have here with me my own wedding invitation. It's a little bit hard to see. I think there we go. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I just had to angle it a little bit. So this was my own wedding invitation. I'm going to be showing you guys lots of pictures of different invitations today so that you guys can get inspired for your own invitation. Now, some of you might be doing something like ordering off of minted.com. I might have a couple examples of those in here, but other of you might be doing custom invitations, which of course are going to cost more money than doing something like Minted or Basic Invite, and I'm going to be showing a lot more options of those so that you guys can see. Now, if you're just going to be doing something like Minted or Basic Invite, that's totally fine, but you might not find these custom invitations as appealing because they are going to be more costly. But custom invitations are super fun. They're a great way to show your personality and have something totally unique for your wedding that you can incorporate lots of different elements of your own personality or of your venue or of anything related to your wedding theme into the design of your invitation so that guests know exactly what to expect when they open up your invitation in the mail. So let's go ahead and jump right into showing you guys lots of beautiful invitations. Before I start talking about all of these invitations, I wanted to let you guys know that there are some envelopes in here with addresses, and I have blurred out all of the real addresses on here just to protect privacy. But if you see envelopes on here that have not been blurred out, that just means that those were created for editorials and they are fake addresses. So they're not real addresses, they're fake. So if you see something not blurred out, it just means that they're not real addresses and they did not need to be blurred out. So first things first, here is my wedding invitation suite. So in the top left, you can see that I have an envelope liner that is simply a decoration inside the envelope itself. So guests open it up and they see a beautiful floral envelope liner. And then the RSVP card, which actually has instructions to do it online, has that same design all over it. And then the main invitation is in a coral color, and it has an illustration of our venue on it, which you can see to the right hand side. And then we chose to do yellow envelopes, and then in the bottom left we actually had one envelope created just for the picture, as if we were going to do RSVP cards in the mail. That's the kind of color we would have done. We wanted it just for the picture. And then a celebrate details card on the left, and that was pretty much it. And then on this next slide, this was an editorial for the exact same venue where we got married. So this goes to show you, if you don't want to do a full-on illustration of your venue and you want to do some sort of homage, you can look at the top corner or the top middle of this invitation and see that little structural design. That is the same structure as the right picture. So you can add some sort of homage that's tiny but not a full-on illustration to give a little bit of a nod to your venue without doing a big illustration. So a really nice thing there. And then you can see we've got a mix of script and printed fonts on this invitation, and then a wax seal on the envelope because there are also wax seals going on the escort cards themselves or the seating chart cards. And then in the bottom left for the RSVP cards, there's a little lion because those are thrown throughout the venue itself. Now moving on to my bride's elopement for her little Jekyll Island Club Resort. She had a full-on watercolor illustration of her venue, which was absolutely gorgeous. Obviously something like this is going to be very costly to have commissioned, and then you can get it printed on your invitation, but it is so frame worthy, such a stunning piece. I would keep this. I would never recycle this. If somebody sent this to me and invited me to the wedding, I would keep this around. This would definitely not be one that I would ever throw away. I would keep this for sure. Now this next wedding has an illustration of the main farmhouse for the wedding where the reception was right outside of, and it's absolutely beautiful. And then the rest of the invitation is very clean, very simple, mix of the script fonts for their name, and then the rest of it is printed, and that's pretty much it. So really clean and classic. This one and the last one were both featured on Martha Stewart Weddings, so you don't have to go too crazy and all out if you're wanting to be published. Just little unique touches on the invitation suite can be enough, but again, do this all for yourself. Do whatever you'd like for your invitation suite, but if you're wanting to do something like this and having designs on your invitation suite that feature your venue, custom is definitely the way to go. Now, if you're wanting to do some sort of illustration but not have it be of your venue, you can do something beautiful like a little floral illustration like my bride did here. And then she actually had these beautiful little clear envelopes, or semi-clear, kind of transparent, which I thought was beautiful. And then they did calligraphy for all of their little escort cards on the tables, and then a mix of script and printed fonts on the invitations themselves. And then her paper was all hand-torn paper, so you can see that the edges of the papers aren't straight. So that's a really romantic and very fine art aesthetic, something different to the straight edges that we often see on invitations. Now this next option is from minted.com, and this is great if you are wanting a more affordable option but still having some sort of detailed design, something illustrated, something printed on your wedding invitation, so it's not just super plain. Something like Minted is going to give you a semi-customizable option so that you can have something fun on your invitation, but other couples might have this exact same option, so know that you're not going to be the only person who has this, but you do get the option of having something kind of customizable because you can change the text on it, but the design itself is there to stay, and you can choose from like hundreds, maybe even thousands of different designs. Now this next option, my couple chose to do a very clean, classic, kind of understated design, and then they had little branches of, I'm not sure what greenery this is, but let's just say branches of greenery, and then they had that carried out in their envelope liner as well. So you can choose to go really understated. You don't have to do something with lots of designs on here. You can choose to go clean, classic, and simple. Now here is another minted.com option. This couple chose to do a lot of cards in their envelopes. They chose to do a rehearsal dinner card, a welcome celebration card, wedding details, an RSVP card, and their main invites. They had a lot going on. Again, a semi-custom option from online. Great to do if you are more on a budget and you don't want to do something custom. Now here is a design that we did from a photo shoot that was a beekeeper themed shoot. So you can see we've got little honeybees on the wax seal on top of the vellum, which is that clear liner on top of the invite itself. And we've got honeybees on the envelope liner, and it's just a really fun touch to carry whatever theme you're doing throughout your entire invitations. And then we've got colorful envelopes, which I am always a fan of. If you guys want to splurge just a teeny tiny bit, it doesn't take too much to do colorful envelopes. They're a really great way to include your color palette into your invitation suite if your invitations themselves are not on colorful paper. Now next here we've got a beautiful design where we've got the envelope liner having the same kind of design throughout the invitation itself, and then we've got one of those flowers carried onto the RSVP card, and then we've got that same color palette on the escort cards themselves. So it's really important that you guys are getting paper goods that are the same design. They're very cohesive throughout the entire day. Because if you've got your invitations looking completely different from your bar signage or your escort card displays, it doesn't really have the same design through it, so it doesn't feel intentional. If everything looks totally disjointed and opposite throughout the whole day, it doesn't have that same consistency. So when you're looking through your photos, it could look like a couple separate weddings. Now, if you don't really care about that, that's fine. But to me, through my eyes as a photographer and somebody who really cares about design, I love when I see a cohesiveness throughout the entire wedding. So if you're having all of your stuff, all of your paper goods, all of your signage done by the same person, they should ideally be designing everything to look cohesive. Now let's look at this next design here. We've got a couple different elements that are really inspiring. So we've got the invitation itself wrapped in a beautifully designed with floral vellum cover, and then that itself is tied in a velvet ribbon sealed with a wax seal. Super intricate, very beautiful. Guests would have an amazing time untying this. It would be like a present on a holiday morning. And then you've also got a map card. So this is something that you are going to need to do custom if you want a cute little map designed to throw in your bag. Something really cute for guests to see. They get a little custom map of the area, maybe the town you're in for your wedding, and then the property itself. So that's a really fun thing to throw in your invitation suite if you have a little bit more of a budget for your invitations. Now this next wedding, this can show you guys what you can do if you are wanting, again, an envelope liner and carrying the theme of your entire suite throughout the whole suite itself, but then the invitation itself, so it has a watercolor backing behind the fonts itself, which is really pretty, but the piece of paper underneath the invitation is actually another invitation, so it's just the back side of an invitation. So invitations don't always have to have a blank back. It can have a design on the back itself, and here we chose to do the same back as the envelope liner. So you don't always have to have a plain back to the invitation. Obviously that's going to cost more, so if you don't want to spend extra, you can have a plain back. That's totally fine. But if you want to have something pretty on the front and back, you can do that too. Maybe the guest will frame it or hang the back side on their fridge after the wedding is over. Could be really cute. Now this next invitation suite was done for another editorial, and it's totally different. It's very modern, very like fun, kind of a little bit funky, very colorful. This one is square for the main invitation, and I wanted to warn you guys, if you are doing a square invitation, you will have to pay more than a normal stamp cost. So square invitations are processed differently through the US Postal Service, and they will charge you more. So that is something to keep in mind. This next invitation suite featured a really cool detail, and that is that the invitation itself not only came in an envelope, but it came in a laser cut envelope within an envelope itself. So that is what that little gold piece is down on the bottom. So you had to open up the envelope, and then inside the envelope was this gold foil laser cut envelope itself. So just a really cool detail that I thought was like something I wanted to show you guys, just because it's really rare to see these days. But if you wanted just something really cool and different, you could have an envelope within an envelope, just something like this. Now this next wedding had a beautiful tropical colorful explosion invitation suite where the invitation itself was printed on a vellum liner, and then below the vellum liner was just a little tropical printed board. So that was just a really cute detail, and then all of the palm leaves and the little pink flowers, those were thrown on every single piece of paper in this suite. So extremely cohesive, very colorful. When you guys send out your invitation suites, that is the first thing your guest sees other than your save the date, and so that sets the tone for the wedding, so they know exactly what to expect from your wedding. Is it going to be a fancy neutral ballroom wedding? Is it going to be a fun tropical wedding on the beach? What kind of wedding is it going to be? Your invitation suite tells them exactly that, so keep that in mind when you are designing your invitation, whether you are doing it custom or you are doing it semi-custom online. This next invitation suite I wanted to throw in here to show you guys a little bit something more clean and classic, but to also show you how to put together your invitations inside of your envelope. Every single piece that you see on the left was wrapped together in this blue ribbon on the right and then put in the envelope on the top left that had a beautiful envelope liner. So this is just a little creative way that you guys can stuff your envelopes, whether you pay your invitation designer to do it for you or you do it yourself, which does obviously save you some money. It's up to you whether you want to save yourself the time or you want to save the money. David and I, my husband and I, did all of our envelopes ourselves to save the money because we have the time. It's totally up to you whether you want to do it yourself or you want to pay someone to do it for you. This next invitation suite and the couple after it are all going to be letterpress. So letterpress is where you have, it's usually on thicker paper because it has to be thick enough to take the letterpress. So letterpress is where the letterpress person creates plates with all of the text of your design for your invitation, and then they take that and they ink it and then they press it into your paper, and it actually indents the paper with all of your text. So if you put your hand over this paper, you would feel the indentation of the text itself. So all of this text is indented into the paper, and letterpress can be pretty costly, but it gets more costly the more ink colors you have because they have to create separate plates for every ink color you have. So a lot of times letterpress will be one single ink color. So this couple chose to do just purple. The same thing that this next couple did, they chose to do it all in a soft, kind of a gray taupey color. And so you can see they chose very clean and classic. This was a very clean and classic wedding with an ivory and green color palette. Now for this last wedding I wanted to show you guys, this is for an editorial, and the invitation designer chose a very beautiful like teal colored hand-torn edge, very soft, maybe even on recycled paper, I'm not even sure. Beautiful letterpress, and this had no ink color at all. It was simply just pressed into the paper, and then for the RSVP card, a very lighter teal color, and then the envelopes themselves were hand calligraphied, and they were done in a very, very soft bluish color. This was such a beautiful suite, very romantic, very different from a lot of the invitation suites that you do. This is very soft, dreamy, and fine art, and absolutely gorgeous. So whether you want to go custom, semi-custom, or maybe you even find a way to DIY your invitation suites, I hope that this was very inspiring for you guys. All right, well, those were a ton of invitations. I hope that you guys found something that inspires you for your own invitations, whether you're doing something simple like ordering online or you are hiring a custom stationer or calligrapher to do your invitations. And that's going to be it. So if you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, you can find me at Cavin Elizabeth, and then make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.